sing the thunder song.
Wait.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Thunder Buddies podcast. We got Barry Tramel in the building. It's been a while.
Tell me about it.
Last time we talked to you, we were still thinking Thunder had a shot at the title. Right
You
now,
been on the OU football podcast yet?
No, that's negatory.
Okay, well then we're still in good shape.
I did not say. Yeah, I was not casting dispersions. You guys are in great standing.
well, this one, we should have been talking about the first round right now, but we're not. We're talking about Scott Brooks and his job security, which has gotten thrown into question over the past week. Legitimate question too, because when they typically do exit interviews. It's half the players and Scott Brooks will go the day after the season. The other half of the players will go the next day, and then typically Sam Presti is that third day, maybe even that fourth day. This year they did first players on Thursday, or first players and Brooks on Thursday, other players on Friday. You had a weekend. Okay, maybe Sam Presti doesn't talk on the weekend. Maybe he's going to talk Monday. But no, they scheduled him all the way back till Friday. And the exit interviews were coming the same day as a report from Yahoo, from a legitimate reporter, about as legit as they come in the NBA, obviously, that they were discussing Scott Brooks' job. The fact that Presti's let that linger, and then now this latest Kevin Ollie report linger, and he hasn't publicly said anything, lets you know that, yes, his job is in serious discussion right now, and his future's kind of wavering with this franchise. And I think we're going to know something for sure Friday when Presti talks, because we know Sam Presti. He's not going to go into that press conference without either saying, we're going away from Scott Brooks or he is our coach. So I think we'll know by Friday, but it's lingering.
Yeah, I actually feel sorry for Scotty, because nobody wants to be in this situation, and I think it's a little bit untoward for the Thunder to create this kind of situation.
Yeah, but what if you are the Thunder? How do you handle this differently if internally you want to have a discussion about Scott Brooks? You think it might be best to go in another direction?
Well, who's talking? That's what I want to know first. Who's talking? When you say have a discussion, who's discussing?
Sam Presti, and maybe he's going out to other, candidates like a Kevin Ollie, figuring out, talking to the players, really sitting on it. Sometimes, you got to make a real tough decision. You just need a little time to maybe sit back and figure it out. He probably wants some time to sit back and figure it out. And we know it's not like he's leaking this stuff and he wants, this stuff to be out there about Scott Brooks potentially, his job security. The Kevin Ollie report comes from SNY, a station in New York. That's clearly from the Kevin Ollie side of things, up there towards Connecticut where he is. So that's clearly not Presti. He doesn't want that out there. And then the original Yahoo report, I don't know. What would you know? There's so many agents and different things like that. But I can tell you for sure. I mean, it's not Sam Presti didn't leak that. That's 100%.
No, yeah, well, you're right, but still, I mean, he had to know it had a chance to get out. So,
well,
I don't know what there is to think about.
Really?
I mean, in terms of if he wants to fire him. If he doesn't want to, don't.
You saying you should know either way by now?
You should know.
I got you.
What if his thought is, we like Scott Brooks. We think he can be a title-winning coach. We think he could lead this team to a championship. But I really like Kevin Ollie, right? I really like Billy Donovan or somebody.
Well, I mean, I think you could have known that well before the end of the season.
Sam's a very meticulous, very methodical, very calculated man.
You're right.
And he does not want to make a rash decision.
But this is where being methodical backfires on you, when you let a good man twist in the wind like this.
Well, not if you go get a better man.
Well, it's still by
he's
back
just talking about the human factor.
Yeah,
of Scott Brooks.
It's still a bad situation.
Well,
I'm not saying the end result may be who knows how the end result, whether he stays or goes. I'm just saying it seems like there's a better way to handle it.
You're right.
This.
I mean, think about if the Oklahoman was discussing your job security, Darnell, and
am I making $4 million a year?
I mean, obviously that would help.
It's big boy sports. I mean, it happens.
It's still. I don't think. I don't think.
Is it going to be any better if he fires him? And okay, he fires him yesterday.
Yes.
That's better.
Yes.
No, it's not. Then he's out of a job.
But what do you think Scott Brooks is doing today? Is he scrolling Twitter?
He's probably on the golf course.
No, he's probably reading stuff and worried about his
phone. He doesn't care.
He's probably looking at his phone. Oh, I got.
He reads everything.
He doesn't. He's
one of the
I don't
few
think he cares.
He cares.
He cares about whether he's going to come back, but he doesn't care about what people are saying because we don't know. Nobody knows. Sam Presti's the only guy that knows. He doesn't care.
I guarantee
he's not getting
on
Twitter.
Report like, uh-oh.
No, he's not getting on Twitter trying to figure out what you and I are saying.
No, that's
stuff
true.
Like that.
That's true. But I mean, I think he's still.
Regardless, if you knew you might get fired in the next week and you knew everyone was discussing, wouldn't you just tell me now? Am I gone or am I not? The thing with Scott Brooks is if he's gone, Denver has an opening, Orlando has an opening. There's places he would potentially want to go.
I think he'd be a perfect coach for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Byron Scott's going to be gone there.
I don't either, but I think he'd be a perfect coach for the Lakers.
Yeah. I'm just saying, he wants to either move on with his life, knowing he's the coach of this team, or trying to, find his next job. So you're right. From a human perspective, it's tough, but at the same time, it's kind of tough from the Thunder side if they just aren't sure on this decision yet.
Now, let me play devil's advocate like I always do.
Al Pacino.
In 2012, when they had this contract negotiation, and Scott Brooks and his representatives had the Thunder hanging in the wind, and they were playing hardball on a kind of contract, nobody says, hey, I feel bad for the Thunder. That's the way the business is played. That's the way the game is played. That's the business.
I agree.
You raised a very good point, RFD. Although the Thunder weren't twisting in the wind. The Thunder could have just said, "Okay, we'll go."
They could have,
but they
tried to be loyal to the guy, and they were loyal to him.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I mean, I think they did that because they felt like it's in their best interest.
Yeah, and it's a little different to me when you have an entire franchise and you're just waiting for, okay, are you going to come coach our team? Okay, you're not. We'll go get somebody else. Whereas you're just a person saying, can I stay? Am I staying with this organization, or they can just send you out on your own? It's a little bit different, human to organization than organization to human. You know what I mean?
I think if he gets brought back, all will be fine, and it'll be forgotten. They'll win 60-plus games next year, be in the thick of the championship hunt. They're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. Relationships will be fine.
That's
if he's brought back.
My thing.
No, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah, this isn't going to be lasting damage.
Yeah,
I don't think
it will be a little awkward for a little while. I think, but
I guess,
mid-November next year, they're 10-1 and everything's going right. Nobody's going to be talking about hey, remember that time that for
Nobody's
a week?
Going to be talking about it at Summer League in July.
Here's the deal. Here's where this could have lingering effects. Is if he comes back and they don't play well early next year. And they're 7-5 or 9-8 going into December or whatever, and then you sit around thinking, he's on shaky ground to start with, and now they got their guys back, and they're still not all that good.
I don't see that happening. I understand your point, but unless Kevin Durant has another setback, this team is going to be incredible next year.
You're sure fired up about a team that can't play defense.
I think they're going to be a solid, not elite defensive team.
They're going to be
with
much
everyone
better
healthy.
With Collison, Ibaka, Robertson, and Durant.
Yeah.
Well, I would think so, maybe, but
and with more hope of what's to come and just energy about how dominant they can be,
and knowing what you just went through this year.
Yeah,
that being in the back of your mind, we can't do that again.
If they can just get a rolling ball of momentum. I mean, defense, when you're supremely confident, high energy, you think you can dominate a team, you play, scrambling type defense.
I actually have a good I have a pretty good stat here for you that is for optimism for next year. Do you know what pace the Thunder played at what win pace they played at this year when Russell Westbrook was in the lineup? Forget Kevin Durant.
A good one. I know they were 29-12 at home. They were 3-5 without, so they would have been
51.
51.
Yeah, they were 26-7 at home.
They're 42-25 with Westbrook.
Yeah,
42-25 with Westbrook, which equals out to a 51-win season.
Yeah.
And I might even have that wrong. It sounds like that. It may be a little bit more, but anyway, 51 wins without Kevin Durant playing half the games.
55. Right. He missed 55 games.
Yeah. So when he missed 40. He missed 40 with Westbrook. So that's half a season. So the Thunder was actually a decent team as long as they had Westbrook. We talk about the Indiana game there at the end. We talk about the lack of defense when Canner got here, all the different things. But the truth was, as long as they had Westbrook, they were still as good as Portland or Washington or Toronto.
As long as they had Westbrook and Ibaka.
Yeah,
and
New
Ibaka.
Orleans.
Well, even throw out. I mean,
they were not.
Here's
good
the deal.
without
But
Ibaka.
even with what I'm saying is, even with as long as they had Westbrook, they were a 51-win team. So there's a lot of reason for optimism. Ibaka playing more, Durant playing a lot more. A lot of reason
Canner
for
getting
optimism.
a camp and a whole season with them there.
A lot of reason for optimism. But
And
the
it's gonna
question
be a
becomes,
revenge tour,
here's
I
what
think,
the
a little
question
bit, too.
becomes. Does Sam Presti think Scott Brooks can coach this team to an NBA title? And if he does, I think he brings him back. If he thinks the answer is no, he doesn't.
I don't know that he's necessarily thinking that because Scott Brooks can lead this team to an NBA title. The fact that he got this team to an NBA Finals in 2012, if LeBron doesn't if LeBron plays in the 2012 Finals like he played in the 2011 Finals against Dallas where he disappeared, the Thunder has a championship. So Scott Brooks can. I'd say Sam Presti's decision should be, let's say it's Kevin Ollie. I don't know who it's going to be, but let's say he's deciding between Kevin Ollie and Scott Brooks. It's who is better for this franchise going forward, Kevin Ollie or Scott Brooks? Who has a better shot at leading this team to a title, Kevin Ollie or Scott Brooks? Because I think either way, with this roster, a coach can lead this team to a title. I just think if he thinks Kevin Ollie is a better coach moving forward, that's when he pulls the trigger. Because there's no way he's making his decision on what's happened in the last 3 years at the end of the season.
To piggyback on what you're saying, and this isn't my opinion, this is fact. They look at Scott Brooks and they see a guy who's capable of getting it done. They came up 3 wins short of a title. And the philosophy within the Thunder is when you get that close, it's not the coach. It's other things. The coach got you there. He helped get you there. He didn't just do it on his own. But he helped get you there. And at that point, it's little things. Nick Collison talks a lot about them. Focusing on defensive rebounding, taking care of the ball, sharing the ball, things like that, rotations defensively. It comes down to those little things. And they feel like Scott Brooks can be that guy. It's just a matter of doing those other things well in the playoffs.
At the same time, they probably also think Kevin Ollie can be that guy.
They love Kevin Ollie.
That's what I mean. Like when we're talking about,
they absolutely
there's no doubt
love
about
Kevin
that.
Ollie.
There's no doubt about that. But I would say this: if the Thunder really thinks that Scotty Brooks can get the Thunder to do those little things in the playoffs, they wouldn't be having this discussion. I think they have doubts about Scotty Brooks. In the same way that fans who admittedly are very spoiled and admittedly don't have much of a memory, but in the same way that fans make a statement like, well, this guy can never get us over the hump, the Thunder is asking itself the same question in much more enlightened ways, but really it's the same question. Can this guy get it done? Can he get Russell Westbrook to play hard defense for 40 minutes a night in the playoffs? Can he get Enes Kanter to play a little bit of defense? Can he get whoever to share the ball, Dion Waiters to share the ball in the third quarter of Game 5 of a 2-2 series? And they're trying to figure out if the answer is yes.
What would you say are Scott Brooks' biggest positives as a coach?
I think he runs an incredibly even-keeled ship.
Yeah.
Even when disaster happens, he's fine. No, there's never any panic. There's never any despair. The players know exactly what's coming every day. Nobody comes to work and thinks, what's going to happen today? What's going to happen today? I think his relationship with his players is very strong, I think. And I think generally that's a good work environment. He creates a good working environment, I think.
So let's say you're looking at Kevin Ollie. I would assume they're sitting there thinking he's an even keel guy. You guys know him probably better than I do. You guys covered him a little bit. Is he? I mean, he seems to be a pretty even keel guy.
Kevin Ollie is a great guy.
I mean,
and
let me say one thing. Kevin Ollie's going to be, in my opinion, is going to be the next head coach of the Thunder.
You just don't know what year.
I just don't know when.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
So,
wow, there it is.
Yeah. And he's like we talk about one of Brooks' best positives, and it's incredibly good positive in an NBA, environment is his stars love him, his players love him. We know that the Thunder players aren't going to love Kevin Ollie; they already do love Kevin Ollie.
See, my thing is this. I mean, if that's your best two positives or strengths as a coach, you can go out and get someone that can do that.
Well, the thing is, if Kevin Ollie already has those strengths, maybe beyond that he can bring more of the defense and more of the offensive flow type movement.
Hey,
does he come with a new staff?
I mean, I'll throw out a name. I can give you a coach right now that'll come in and get these guys to play better basketball. Mike Malone. I mean, he's shown that. He had the Sacramento Kings winning, and they fired him. And not a week later, not a month later, that very day, they fell off the face of the earth. But can Mike Malone create or maintain the kind of work environment that this franchise and this roster has thrived in? And the answer is maybe, but we don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the
How
point.
much of that is Scott Brooks?
Well, I think a good chunk of it. Now, you're right. The Thunder Way,
the Thunder Way
is incredible. However, the Thunder Way doesn't mean the Thunder Way permeates on a
You need a figurehead
on a plane.
You need a figurehead to be able to control
on a
it all.
midnight flight from Atlanta to Chicago in February. The Thunder Way doesn't have to exist. The Thunder Way doesn't have to exist in the third quarter in the third game of a road trip when everybody's tired and hungry and mad.
You need a taskmaster.
Yeah,
you need a taskmaster.
Like Scott Brooks decides, okay, this team needs a day off tomorrow. We shouldn't practice. We should practice. He seems to push those right buttons. Remember when he gave them an entire day off after the Spurs loss, and then they came back and I think they finished the season decently.
And I'll tell you one more thing we know a lot of this is the known and the unknown. One thing you can say about Scott Brooks, he's not a perfect coach for Russell Westbrook. But we know that Scott Brooks knows how to massage Russell Westbrook into becoming the player that he has become, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, if anyone.
And here's the deal. We don't know about anybody else. Literally anybody else. It might work famously, but it also could combust.
Yeah, I think that's why Kevin Ollie's so intriguing to them. I think
because he's a little bit of a known. He's more known than you're right. Yeah. He's more known than anybody else.
That's what I mean.
But
like they probably feel like they can bring Kevin Ollie in and he could do what Brooks did with like the environment and the stars loving him and this and that, and then he could also bring, some other stuff that may have been lacking.
Brooks deserves a lot of credit for the job he's done here. Do we give him too much credit for some of these things? I'll go back to something you wrote recently. I think it was this morning. Maybe it was yesterday. Player development.
Right.
And you listed Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka.
James Harden.
Okay. I go back to
Reggie.
Reggie Jackson was in there. I go back to the Thunder culture.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No,
if you're Sam Presti and Troy Weaver and all those other guys and you're bringing in a certain type of player, like Kevin Durant, you wrote it. Russell Westbrook has the drive. A lot of that is on him. A lot of his development, he's responsible for.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It didn't take a coach to say, hey, Russell, we got to, it helped, and they deserve credit for that because Russell's a totally different player now than he used to be in a good way. But if you're bringing in a certain type of player with a certain type of character and commitment to his craft, to me, that credit also belongs to the front office and the decision makers who are bringing those players in.
No doubt about it. The biggest, Sam or whoever, his talent scouts, whoever, they deserve more credit than Scotty Brooks for Reggie Jackson becoming the player he is. Nobody that saw Reggie as a rookie thought this guy's going to be any good. Now, he's a franchise point guard for the Pistons. However,
franchise point.
He's the franchise point guard. Is he not?
I don't know. We'll see this offseason. And
Brandon Jennings might have something to say about that.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would agree with the Pistons.
Well, they may be wrong, but
you're right. I mean,
here's my point. Here's my point.
Situation.
You're right. Lots of reasons, and some of them more important than Scott Brooks for that development. However, we know that Scott is on board and contributing to that culture.
Right.
We know that he's an integral part of that to whatever degree. And Kevin Ollie, you have belief would be. Anybody else, you just don't really know. I mean,
that's why.
Scotty Brooks is not the only coach that Sam Presti's had as a general manager. He had another guy,
P.J. Colissimo.
He's a disaster.
You didn't like the way Robert Swift developed?
He was a disaster. I mean, he literally had to be fired, or the Thunder might not have finished a game. I mean, they weren't playing hard. They weren't playing good. I mean, they weren't any good, but they weren't.
Yeah, that's one. Come on,
but
man.
They weren't playing. But they weren't playing hard. It was a disaster.
Look, there's no doubt. Like, Scott Brooks is a good coach. Is he the best coach for this team to get it over the hump? I don't know, but I mean, he's a good coach just because right now that he's twisted in the wind with the Thunder. There's already other teams. There's rumblings like they're sitting there waiting. Oh, if he becomes available, he'll be a very good candidate here. Like I've said, Detroit, Orlando, different places. So he's a good coach. The question is
Denver, Orlando.
What did I say?
You said Detroit.
Oh yeah, not Detroit.
Yeah, SVG's not going anywhere. Not in the near future.
Brooks is probably not going to be coaching Reggie anytime soon either. But it's twisted in the wind.
I feel sorry for Scotty. I mean, maybe there's good reasons for it, but I'm not crazy about those reasons.
You almost have to think even if an announcement comes that they're relieving, it'll probably be worded something like we're relieving him of his duties. It's almost got to come with like an immediate hire, right?
No,
not necessarily.
No,
you don't think so?
I hope not.
I almost think.
I wish they'd get. Well, they want to be.
Not all summer, but I mean, you got until August.
But my thing is, there's no way. I feel like the only way they're making this decision is if they know, okay, Kevin.
No, that's a good
Kevin
point.
Ollie,
Yeah.
It's
you don't fire him if you don't have your candidate in mind. I agree.
Which brings up another question, and a couple people have pointed this out. Kevin Ollie just signed a contract.
Well, it's a $5 million buyout.
You got a $5 million buyout.
Okay.
You got Scott Brooks. You got to pay him the final $4 million, and you got to pay Kevin Ollie whatever you're going to give him, which probably is going to start at $4 or $5 million.
I'm going to say
you're talking about $14 million to make this move. That's not a drop in the bucket.
I don't think money is a big issue because this isn't working against their cap. The only time people call them cheap and penny pushers, this and that, that's just with cap and different things and how to construct a roster.
Slater, you're not hearing me. This is a $14 million.
Well, it's really $9 million.
How's it 9? That's $14 million.
Because what you're going to play
$5
Brooks
a buyout and $4 to pay Ollie or whatever you're going to pay him.
Yeah.
But the extra $5 you were going to be paying.
You were going to pay Brooks anyways. Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah, you either pay him and keep him. I mean, if it's got to really be something that you're confident in.
It's $9 million. It's not.
Let's say
it's not 15 though. It's 9.
Whatever it is, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
But I don't think that's
see
going
how
to
you guys
factor
are
in.
throwing out that other $4. Maybe I'm crazy, but
No, because look, if you're talking about paying Ollie next year, but what you're paying Ollie next year, you would have paid Brooks anyways.
Yeah, and now you're paying Brooks and Ollie.
Yes.
Well,
that counts.
It's a $5 million buyout for Ollie, and then when you
but
you're paying for it anyway.
You're going to be paying $14 million for a coach next year. You were going to be paying $5 million. So it's only $9 million extra.
I see what you're saying.
Is what we're saying.
I see what you're saying.
So, but that's nothing to sneeze at. $9 million is a lot of money.
It's not, but I mean, one thing we have to remember is that it's not. It doesn't work against their cap or this or that. Coaching salaries don't matter. I mean, the Knicks are the Knicks, and this is obviously a completely different ballpark. But they just paid Derek Fisher.
Yeah, but when you do something like that, you got to really be wanting to get rid of a guy. Like you don't just.
That's right.
You don't just do that and say.
What you're saying is I think
the part of the equation we're not, completely grasping is they may just really want a guy. Where maybe they look 2 years and go, man, Brad Stevens was out there and he was lingering and we thought about it, but we loved Brooks at the time. Imagine if we had Brad Stevens right now. and maybe they're thinking, I don't know, this Kevin Ollie situation, like maybe they just really, really want him as the coach, and
maybe Sam's dragging this out because he's got to go run it by the owners. Talk about that $9 million.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that he's got to run it by the Clay and whoever Clay has on his inner circle. However, I would assume that wouldn't take a week. I'd assume you could do that over an afternoon.
Maybe not. I don't know.
One's right up the road and one's right there.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm pointing at his office. So, we ought to be able to figure some of this part out.
Should we guess or should we not guess?
I think Barry's guessing is done. He said Kevin Ollie's going to be the next coach.
That was
just
a prediction.
Doesn't know when.
Yeah, I think Ollie will be the next coach. I just don't know if it'll be right now or not.
Do you think it'll be now?
The longer it goes, the more I think yes.
Me too.
Last week, whenever we talked about this, Friday, Thursday, I can't remember what day.
You would have
I was guessing no, but the longer it goes, the more I think yes.
The longer it goes and the longer Sam's not out there making a statement or anything. And, I can understand why he wouldn't want to make a statement like he's our coach and then he's not a week later.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Player reaction if Brooks is replaced.
Well, the interesting thing is, let's say he is replaced. It's pretty interesting that they allowed Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and that Serge Ibaka went stronger than anyone to go out there and publicly back Brooks. I mean, maybe they weren't expecting them to do that.
Let me ask a question. What if Kevin Durant's, because he's really the most important, what if Kevin Durant's answer is this? I either like Brooks a lot or I'm not crazy about Brooks. Whatever he says about Brooks to Sam Presti, it's sort of irrelevant. Either way. But let's say he says I like Scott Brooks. I think it's possible that he also said this. But Sam, I don't really want that responsibility to help decide a coach. That's your job. I got quite a bit of weight on my shoulders already, just trying to play the game and get myself back healthy, and me and Russ trying to lead this team to a title. That's really sort of out of my league.
It's possible. The one thing I know about basketball players is two things they really care about: coaching and referees.
They do.
They always got an opinion on those two.
They do.
Coaches and referees. And I guarantee you Kevin Durant has an opinion.
Yeah,
it's possible that he doesn't want to be involved with it, but I guarantee you he has an opinion.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I remember they went to Sacramento right after the Mike Malone situation. Tyrone Corbin, I believe it was his first game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Was against the Thunder, and Kevin Durant was like, I don't know why they fired Mike Malone. He's a good guy. From my brief talkings to him, I really like him. He was building something here. I can't believe they did it. And then they went to Golden State, and there were some Golden State writers. This is right after they played them back to back. Some Golden State writers were asking about how good the Warriors had been this season, and had he seen them take a huge jump. And he's like, Mark Jackson deserves a lot of credit. He's really started backing Mark Jackson. So not only he's very opinionated as it comes to coaching, and he does back people that get criticized. And he's backed Brooks a ton.
I actually like both of those guys you just mentioned. This is off track, but I like Malone and I like Mark Jackson. I'm with Kevin Durant. I don't think Mark Jackson gets enough credit for the Warriors.
How about Mark Jackson here? Some people have mentioned
I think it would be a good selection.
He does a lot of what Brooks does. He's good. He's good with stars. He gets a defensive. He's kind of a defense first type coach. And his criticism has been, his offense. His offense was a little too bland. It was a little too much hero ball. To me, that those two maybe kind of overlap a little bit too much.
Well, I like him because he did institute a defensive mentality in Golden State.
But Brooks did here.
Yeah. No, you're right. Scotty's capable of getting the guys to play good defense. We know that. He just never had to do it with Enes Kanter playing 30 minutes a game.
And Noah Ibaka and a ton of other factors.
But I like Mark Jackson. I like Mike Malone, but I think it's all irrelevant. I think it's going to be Kevin Ollie.
Or Scott Brooks.
Or Scott Brooks.
What about the Billy Donovan?
That's what I was thinking. Where's this Billy Donovan stuff
I
coming
don't
from?
know. You tell me.
I will tell you right now, Sam Presti and Billy Donovan are also very close. Like, he likes Billy Donovan. I know the reason their D-League coach, Mark Dagnall, worked under Billy Donovan for a few years. I know he came highly recommended from Billy Donovan to Sam Presti. I know there was a ton of conversations from that side, so I know they
spent a lot of time down there when he was scouting Bradley Beal.
There's a
back
USA
in the draft.
basketball thing with that whole thing. I mean, he loves Billy Donovan, so that makes sense in some ways too. But Kevin Ollie,
Billy Donovan might be. I mean, the only thing that separates the two probably is that Kevin Ollie played here. Billy Donovan didn't.
And
we know Kevin Ollie, but there's a chance they know Billy Donovan.
Well, yeah, but the thing with Kevin Ollie is
the thing about Kevin Ollie is the players.
The players love him.
Yeah, but
the players probably don't know Billy.
How many championships he got? 2?
Who?
Billy Donovan.
2?
Yeah, back to back with
back-to-back
Brewer
champs.
and Noah and Horford.
I don't think he's going to have a problem having respect in that locker room.
I'm not saying he won't have respect, but
I mean,
there's like a
guys know he
certainty
can coach.
with Kevin Ollie.
Let me throw somebody out. There'd be a home run higher PR-wise. I don't think they care about this.
Bill Self.
Bill Self. They've always talked about Bill Self coming back. How would the players react to a Bill Self?
Nick Collison probably like it.
I'm not sure.
Here's the
thing.
No,
he was Roy Williams. He was
Roy Williams. But here's the deal about Bill Self. I've never come across anybody, anywhere, anytime, any level, anything that didn't immediately feel connected to Bill Self when you're around him. He's just one of those people that it's automatic you gravitate towards him.
He's a good talker.
He is.
I like that.
Yeah, if we're talking media perspective. Hey, how about Kevin Ollie? I watched a couple.
He was not a great talker. I didn't think.
He was. I wouldn't say he's a great talker. He's not Steven Adams or Deion Waiters. But he's more like, I think he's more like a Nick Collison. Where
analytical.
Analytical. He's going to break it down for you and give you some insight. He's going to say a lot, and there's going to be some stuff in there.
He's not going to give you a ton of like
exciting.
Board quote.
He's not a fun quote or anything like that, but he's going to give you information.
Well, that's fair. Scotty's not good at giving me information.
Yeah. So, and every now and again he'll have a joke.
It seems. A joke about his playing days. That's his favorite jokes.
Oh, well, I'll miss him because he's such a nice fellow.
Well,
hey.
He's throwing.
Whenever he's gone, I'm not saying now, but whenever he's gone, he's not coaching forever.
If this thing,
he is a good guy.
So today's Tuesday. We're recording this. You think something happens by the time Sam Presti gets up there Friday?
AC said it or wrote it or something. He said, surely we're going to know by Friday. Sam Presti's not going to get up to that table
and
without a resolution.
I don't know. I mean,
I think we'll know by Friday.
Yeah, we got to know by Friday.
Don't you?
Do you know Sam
for the most
better
part.
than both of us? I mean, is there any chance he would go into that?
I can't see it.
If he doesn't know by then, I'm ready for the email that says Sam has a scheduling conflict and will need to push back his exit interview until the Friday
It's highly
after.
unlikely. But then again, I mean, this is a serious decision, and it's a potentially franchise-changing, altering decision. So, if he wants to take his time, it's possible. Maybe they say.
Here's what's intriguing.
We're analyzing the position.
All right, I feel like I've been a big supporter of Scott Brooks through this whole thing. Let me throw out something that sort of counters that. There's a list of about 25 people in the world who the Thunder can't get to coach this team.
Okay.
Most of them it's contractual.
Okay.
Literally, this is a literal statement. Everybody else on planet Earth would love to coach this team. So the candidates that are out there, the list is impressive and massive and mighty. So, if that's part of the equation, then I can sort of give. I mean, it's if Sam hasn't settled on Kevin Ollie as the successor either now or 4 years from now or whenever we're talking. If he really has an open mind, I can see why it's taken so long. Because
who's who?
Anybody would love to coach this team.
And with that news out there might be a lot of people calling for a discussion with Sam for a quick talk.
Think about it. I mean, I bet Thibodeau would like to get his clutches into this team.
Oh, please.
It would be a disaster, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm
But-
kind of with Barry. I don't
But
think
he's
it
a
was
coach.
great.
But he's a coach and a half. I think he'd butt heads with just about everybody.
We talk about egos. And,
How many?
you know,
Okay,
ego
would that
control.
be, is that before or after the championship?
Well, that could be.
Plural.
That may be.
Okay,
That may
just
be.
let me know.
That's
Yeah.
my point.
Just let me know.
That's my point. But
Because
a guy
Thibodeau
like,
comes here, they're getting one immediately.
well,
Probably
that's my point.
immediately.
That's my point. That's my point. Sam Presti is guy to be thinking. What if Tom Thibodeau coached this team, and we played saber-tooth defense for 48 minutes a night, and we didn't have to score 111 to win, even though we can probably score 111 in our sleep.
Imagine Tom Thibodeau's first practice with Ennis Cantor. Son, come on over here, son. We got to talk.
But that's the point. There's lots of people out
A
there.
lot of candidates.
A lot of great candidates.
You know one name nobody talks about, and maybe rightfully
Who's
so?
that?
Mark Few.
Mark Few?
I wonder what kind of NBA coach he'd be.
I don't know.
I
Boy,
mean,
those
now we're just
college-
getting into like a whole.
I'd be
There's so many names we could throw out there. That are
college
very
co-
intriguing to
college
think
Fred
about.
coaches-
Hoiberg.
College everybody loves Fred Hoiberg. They
mayor.
love Fred Hoiberg.
The mayor.
But it seems to
They talk. He's been rumbling as Thibodeau's replacement in Chicago.
Is he really?
That's just. I mean, we're so much speculating at this
I need
point.
to check the contract status of all. Let me tell you who can coach. Rick Carlisle
Yeah.
can coach you up.
Yes, he can.
I mean,
But he's among your 25 that
but he's among the 25.
That
That's
aren't
right.
gonna be here,
That's
so.
right. Budenholzer
among the 25.
among the 25.
Barry, I'm going to throw this out at you.
Okay.
There's this notion that Russell Westbrook will just automatically butt heads with whoever they bring in, if they bring in someone different.
Yes.
I
Well, I think he's going to butt heads with. I think he butts heads with everybody on planet Earth.
think he butts heads with the current coaching staff.
Yeah, no
and
kid-
I've heard
yeah.
stories about him doing that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
but,
doubt.
But there's a way you Brooks
But
handles it
Scotty's
so well.
able to sort of contain it.
Here's
But go
where I stand on it. I contend that winning cures all,
Well, it could.
and as long as they
It's an
win,
excellent point.
as
It's an
long as they
excellent point.
win,
It's
it
an
doesn't
excellent-
matter.
It's an excellent point.
You don't have to get along with everyone. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
No.
I still do radio interviews, and people ask me, "How's their relationship?" Slater, you probably get the same thing.
I do.
It's all over.
outrageous.
They still ask how their relationship, and I'm like, who cares what their relationship? Do they win?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. You're not always gonna like who you work with.
With that said, if Scott loses his job, it's really unfortunate because
He never had a full team.
since 2012,
He never had a full.
the last
team
3
since then.
years, he's just been star-crossed.
I feel like this is a funeral.
And even if,
this is turning into a little bit of a funeral.
which is strange because next week he could be given the ultimate vote of confidence.
Well, and then we'll talk about that.
We will.
We didn't call the funeral.
Which
Yeah, Sam should just come out and say
Somebody
something.
else did
You're right.
this.
Let's-
We didn't create any of this.
let's say there was. Let's say there,
AC Slater, RFD, and me, we didn't create any of this. Not one bit of this did we create.
I agree with that. I'm good at this point. I was in the middle of making a point, but
Go ahead with your point. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying.
want to hear your point.
I was just saying we were talking about how unfortunate it is for Brooks because he hasn't got a shot over the last 3 years. Let's say he did. There's no injuries over the last 3 years. They're probably winning a title in one of the last 3, and even if that would probably mean he was staying, but even if he was going anyways, if you have a title under your resume, you're golden for life
You're
in the
a made
coaching
man. You're a
circle.
made man, and he wouldn't be going anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. He wouldn't be. But even if he could, if he wanted to.
Yeah, if he
as
wanted
far-
to, but they wouldn't be taught. And here's the deal. I don't think they could have won it last year, even with Ibaka healthy in those 2 games. The Spurs were the better team.
Yeah. I agree with
This
that.
year, who knows?
That's what I always
But in
think.
13
the better argument.
In 13, I thought the Thunder had the best team in the league.
Yeah, and they were playing
Going into the
incredible.
playoffs.
Kevin Martin, people don't remember, was so good for that team.
Yeah.
He was playing some of his
And
best.
Perk was
basketball.
playing solid, and yeah, they were very good. That was their best.
But
the best basketball
That
they
was
played.
a
But you can't lose Westbrook.
that Heat team was really good though.
Yeah, they were, but
Because LeBron had just had the title and he was really gathering momentum. But man, that's a what if. That's a flashback scenario. But that would have been a fun series. Not that the Heat Spurs one with the Ray Allen 3 wasn't a fun series, but all right, you guys good?
well, I'm good.
We'll talk to you.
Maybe we'll know by Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again next week, and I would assume we've talked about it, but we got to know by Friday.
Surely we will.
Barry, you're writing them on this for tomorrow. Did you figure out a column idea while we're talking?
I got a couple. Here's something to think about when we go. Scotty Brooks now coached 7 years here, right?
Yep.
I don't know that anybody's ever won an NBA title after coaching one team that long.
Ooh.
I got a list going. I'm going to have to go look. I did some of it off the top of my head. I'm going to have to go look up the rest.
I did something like
Unless
this. So you're saying, but the same team.
Same team.
Okay, because I was going to say Larry Brown's first title.
No. But same team. Larry Brown was in second year, third year, whatever it was with the Pistons.
Yeah, okay.
Chuck Daly, same with the Pistons. You don't have a coach that stays somewhere 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, and then wins a title in his 9th year. That hardly ever happens, and maybe has never happened.
True, but I mean, it's rare in the NBA to even be coaching a 7th year. You know what I mean?
That's
like in the NBA, it's
but
just
that's my point.
boom,
they
boom.
move on.
Yeah.
They move on. And maybe the Thunder's just moving on.
To me, Barry, and I hate to extend this, but he's had a lot of time.
He has a lot of
He has had a lot of time, and all the issues that we talked about this year, inconsistent defense, the turnover from the trade, the injuries. When you've been here or a place that long, to me, just outside looking in, it seems that you should have a system so firmly entrenched that you can overcome those things. And I don't think they did a good job of overcoming those things. In stretches, they did this year. But for the most part, I don't think they did. Like the defense should have been, we talked about in Boston. Who's Brad Stevens got on his team? He's got nowhere near the caliber of a Serge Ibaka, but they're playing good defense, really good defense.
Right.
I agree,
his best two players, defensive players, a rookie, Marcus Smart, and Avery Bradley, who I love. Fantastic defensive player. But other than that, I mean, Kelly Olynyk, Jarrett Sullinger, Brandon Bass, these guys aren't defenders. And Brad Stevens, in his second season, has gotten the team to play defense.
It's a good point.
And he also overcame injuries. He's overcome.
Well, they
he's
traded
overcome
away
trades.
their two best players.
He overcame trades.
Two best players
and
got
they're
traded.
still playing quality basketball.
Still playing.
They're in the East, so I'm gonna. He does get that.
Can I make 3 points to that? Number one, I think Brad Stevens is an incredible coach that the Thunder would love to have. Like, we know that. Brad Stevens is incredible. 2 was what you were saying. They're in the East.
I could say the same thing about Mike Budenholzer, too.
The Thunder would be in the playoffs if they were in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
They'd be the 6th seed with their record. Plus, they would have played a softer record anyways if they were in the schedule if they were in the East. So that's 2. And number 3, okay, then we could look at the offense and say the Thunder were playing incredible offense. Brad Stevens has more of a defensive type team, and Scott Brooks had more of an offensive type team going down the stretch. Thunder was playing some of the best offensive
What's
basketball.
kooky is that
They got Russell Westbrook, who was playing some of the best basketball in the history.
What's kooky about this season is that this Thunder team played excellent defense early when they had lost their superstars.
That was probably Brooks' best stretch of coaching, even though they were losing.
Well, it's odd. They went 3-12, but they were playing big-time defense with Reggie Jackson out there for 35 minutes again.
Yeah. And Lance Thomas and Sebastian.
and
Lance Thomas is
Telfair.
a pretty good defender, right?
Yeah.
That's like his
But
strength.
that's what I'm saying. When you bring up the 7-year,
No, you're right.
that to me, some of these things should be well defined and basically staples for a franchise when a guy's been there that long.
Although I will say, the upheaval of this roster is amazing.
Yeah,
Did you see that stat I
did.
had
I
about
did.
the guys that played against Memphis two years ago in the West semifinals? None of them played the last 18. There were nobody in that series played in the last 18 games of this season. It's a totally different team.
Collison had to have played in both.
I'll look that up, and maybe I don't mean the last 18. Whenever
When Collison was
whenever
out.
Collison
I
was
think
out.
your stat was like March 20th.
Yeah,
to
that's
April
it.
Something.
That's right. Yeah,
April
that was
10th
it.
or
That was
something
it.
like
That stretch, that month when
When
Collison
Collison
was
was
out.
out.
Yeah. And Ibaka.
Yeah.
Collison
Well,
and
Ibaka
Ibaka.
missed the whole season.
Yeah. That was it. That 4 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
We'll know soon enough.
We should. We'll talk to you again next week, and it should be interesting. See ya.
Durant pull-up jumper off the rim, and the Thunder win! All right, come on, let's sing the Thunder song.
All right.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your thunder buddy and say these magic words.